Good evening, Chet. How you doing tonight? What'd you like about the call between Dan and I? Just out of curiosity, what what was informative about it? Just setting up real quick. Gotta get in here. I think the let me see if I can do this. I don't know why this thing is so high tonight. Let's see. I gotta move that too. How you guys doing this evening? I'm not sure if you could hear me outside the sauna, but I was asking Chet what'd you like about the Zoom call with Dan and I? What'd you find informative? And let me see here. I gotta fix this, don't I? It's too high. There we go. I was gonna say I kind of had it dialed in a little better last night with the lighting. There's still a shadow tonight though. I don't know why this thing does that. Oh well, it'll have to go. It'll have to do its thing. Have no knowledge about niacin and been thinking about getting more out of sauna sessions. Cool. That's awesome. How are you guys doing this evening? It is a wonderful Saturday night, about 9:04 p.m. Eastern Time. Just getting us dialed in here. I want to quit tonight. There, I said it. I'd rather be. I want a night off. How are you guys doing this evening? Looks like a few people have popped in already. You guys ready to get started? Anything? Yes, agreed, Dan. Hey, Dan, if you didn't get my email, I saw your share for the Google Drive, but that email address is not my Google account. So it should have sent you a thing back asking for access. Maybe you already saw it. I don't know. But anyway, if you haven't seen it, I haven't been able to access the Google Drive yet. Just need you to. Okay, cool. Awesome. And this probably isn't the place to tell you. I just saw you pop up and I was like, well, probably not going to talk to you later tonight, but I needed to let you know. Chet says, thought the same thing when I did my sessions at 1 p.m. Yeah. Yep. This is day 13, 30 for 30 sauna challenge. Not too many people on tonight. Not surprised, though. I mean, it is Saturday night. I'm sure folks have, better things to do than go on a sauna live sometimes. Depends on what time zone you're in, too. Could only be 6 p.m. your time, or maybe you're working this weekend like I am. I have mastermind and ad training on Sundays. So Sundays is kind of like a power day for me. I work a lot on Sundays. Beer to drink. Yes. Yes. I could use a beer, Chet. I will join you. I'm not sure how far it'll or how long it'll take me to get to you, but be happy to join you. So what's shaking for you guys this evening? Paul says, good evening, Matt. About to have a sauna session this afternoon, 1 p.m. here in Australia. Good to see you. That's so mind-boggling to me. That it's 9 o'clock my time, one your time. We're both doing sauna. It's pretty cool though. Let's see. I'm working so no beer tonight. Yes, me too. Daniel Ramos says, is it reasonable to have carbon IR panels below the feet? Doesn't seem reasonable to me to be stepping on the panels. Well, in what fashion, Daniel? The sauna that I'm in right now, the Radiant Health saunas, they usually have floor heating panels in them, but generally they're mounted underneath tile or something else. Are you talking about like floor panels that have the grate over the top, where it's kind of like a wooden grate like this, but just on the floor, and then you kind of step on them? Is that what you mean? I mean, there's nothing wrong with those. Sometimes they kind of creak or can work themselves loose, or you have to pull them up and clean underneath because tons of hair and dust and everything else that's stuck to your feet when you walk through your house. Yeah, I mean, I've had saunas that have floor grates in them, and I mean they work well, but it's definitely more cleaning. I mean, once you use, right, like This is pretty nitpicky for me to say, but once you use a sauna like a Radiant Health that has the tile in the floor, it's much easier to clean and you still get the heat. So, that would be my preference, but let me make sure. It doesn't seem reasonable to be stepping on the panels. I mean, it's just a different type of design. It's reasonable. It's still good to have them down there, but I agree with you. If you could do something where there's tile or some other type of surface other than a grate, that would be better. Jessica says, thanks for not giving up. I'm not going to give up. I'm just being honest with you guys about where I'm at, because I think for the folks that are using this as motivation to do their sauna sessions or get inspired to, hell, some people have a sauna in their house, and they don't even use it at all. So for those folks, it's just kind of like being honest about where I'm at, either mentally or emotionally. It doesn't necessarily mean I'm not going to show up, but if I didn't say anything, you would never know, because I'm still here. So it's just kind of like being transparent. Chet says Sunlight has those grates in them. You could see sweat. Yeah. Chet's totally right. I mean, you drip sweat off of your body onto the heater, so, and you can kind of see it steam sometimes. So Paul says, how often do you clean the windows of your sauna? Only use water, right? I break the rules a little bit, Paul, if you want to know the truth. I use like a I don't want to say organic. It's a whatchamacallit free glass cleaner. So it's like an all natural glass cleaner. That's what I use, because using water, they just smear and it never really gets clean. But most of my saunas, because of the filming, like I'll hang out of the sauna and kind of like hold on to the wall. I've got fingerprints. I've got all kinds of stuff all over my glass all the time. It's impossible for me to keep them clean. But when I do clean them, I use a glass cleaner that doesn't have any of that stuff in it. It's like kind of like, I think it's not a vinegar base, but it's like I don't know. It's something non-toxic. How often do I clean them? Not often enough. Doing these things, I'd have to clean them all the time, because I've got wires poking out the door, and I'm hanging off the handle and stuff throughout the sessions. If I think that the camera is getting too hot, I'm trying to vent the sauna, do this and do that. For the average person, if you just wipe the wood down with I shouldn't say that. If it's your own personal sauna in your own house, I wouldn't worry about it as much. If it's a group thing where multiple people are using it, then I would clean it a lot more frequently. Daniel says, therefore, what is the best configuration in a 4x4x6 with 4 300-watt panels? Daniel, I don't understand what you mean there, bud. Like, are you building a sauna and you're trying to place them under the feet, or you have 4 300-watt panels and you're trying to figure out how to lay it out? Is that the deal? Okay. If the panels are 22 inches by 30 inches and you want it to be 4x4x6, that's really not enough panels for that size. So for instance, if you look up the measurements of the sauna that I'm in right now, if you've got 22 by 30, I'm supposing, or I'm assuming that that's 22 inches wide by 30 inches tall. That's your goal. You would want to place, you would really, if that's all you have to work with, you would put 2 on the sides and 2 behind your back, because that's going to give you the majority of core coverage. But it's not going to split it up enough to give you, like, you're not going to have calf heaters, you're not going to have floor heaters, you're not going to have a bench heater. I mean, the sauna that I'm in right now has far more heaters than that, but they're not 300 watts a piece. The back wall heaters and the sidewall heaters are displaced differently than the floor heaters and the calf heaters. So this particular company has chosen to split that up for the power supply output, and rightfully so, because you don't really need as much heat in the floor heaters as you do on the back. But if you're building, what kind of controller do you have? Like, did you just buy emitters and you're just wiring up yourself? What do you have that is going to manage the system? Chet says ammonium free. Yes, thank you. I could not think of that. Paul says cheers. Cheers to you, bud. Daniel says yes. If you're just tuning in for the first time, this is day 13 of 30 for 30 sauna challenge. It's me in the sauna challenging for 30 minutes for 30 days straight, doing the best we can. We are 13 days in right now and looking forward to it. Probably will only have one mishap, and that's going to be on Thanksgiving. I'll either do an early morning session that's live, or I'll just do something pre-recorded and put it up. The idea is to, rest a little bit that day and do what everyone should be doing. But Daniel, if you can give a few more examples, I feel like the chat is frozen or there's a delay. You were pretty quick before, but need a couple more specifics on that. What's shaking for you guys this evening? It's Saturday night. What are you doing this evening? Nobody. It'll be 1,200 cubic feet at 1,500 watts, Daniel says. Yeah, I mean, on a standard household outlet or circuit, usually you have a little under 2,000 watts peak. So your average consumption should be, if you talk to any decent electrician, it would be 20% less. So you should be able to grab about 1,750 watts later. You'll see the photo later. Okay. You should be able to grab another 250 watts in there. So could you step down from 4 300-watt panels to, say, I don't know, 3 or 2 300-watt panels, and then go to step down to 200 or 150s, and then spread them out a little bit? That would probably make a better well-rounded system, but I don't understand. I don't know what you're doing. Did you buy a kit? Or are you piecing this together yourself? What exactly? You just bought 300 watt panels, and you're like, tell me exactly what you're doing. Like, what kind of equipment do you have? Paul says, recovering from too much alcohol last night, hydrating, and about to sweat it out in my sauna. The sauna will definitely sober you up, that's for sure, and you can definitely sweat it out. The what was the other question that I missed? Anybody else have any questions? Go ahead and throw them in the chat. It's a little lower attendance tonight, so there probably is not going to be as much action on this wonderful Saturday evening. I bought 4 300-watt 20 by 20 or 22 by 30-inch panels. Okay. And what are you going to use for a controller or a thermostat, or are you not? You're just going to hardwire them on a switch? What's the goal? What's the deal? Hey, I texted you the picture of the heaters from my Royal Sauna. Did you have a look yet? I forgot about that. I saw it. I was at workout and I forgot to respond to you, and then it doesn't show as unread anymore. So I'm sorry. I'll look at it again. Yeah, they looked funky to me. They didn't look like the traditional whatchamacallit ceramic heater stand. They definitely looked like something obscure. I haven't seen those maybe one other time. I don't know if I really know about those or not. Those were kind of before my time. Daniel says, we'll build my own room. Okay, but you're not answering my question, bud. What is going to control the system? Did you buy a kit? Does it have a control panel with a thermostat to shut the heaters off when it gets to a certain temperature? Or are you just hardwiring them on a switch and you're just going to let them run full time? Like, you got to give me more details than just 300-watt panels, because anybody can buy 300-watt panels. I just need to, okay, all right. Yeah, it'll work like that. You need to be mindful of the gauge wire that you use, and I wouldn't preheat that sauna. I know. Where is Truth Provider? Truth Provider is missing. Good call, Chet. We got to call him out on that. He's definitely what is that? Hardwire. What is this quirky question? Do you drink coffee, and do you drink black coffee? Does it help or hinder your sauna session? Too much sympathetic stimulation. So I really struggle with coffee. That's probably one of the worst things, or the hardest things that I deal with in my life personally. But unless you lived with me or saw me on a daily basis, you probably wouldn't know about that. Let's not make it weird. No, you cannot see my feet. What is this? Oh, yeah, you guys are killing me. for me, it's too much sympathetic. Yeah, very, very much so. It kind of gives my adrenals a hard time. I'm a much better person. I operate a lot better off of coffee, but I love coffee and I like to do it for mental performance. I get a lot of work done on coffee. I can pretty much like barrel through any amount of work with just like coffee and L-theanine. So it's kind of a double-edged sword for me. I think most people that have adrenal issues, if they quit caffeine for say 6 months at a time, you can definitely. Am I wearing a tangerine Speedo? I am not. Not funny. um, but Paul, seriously, all jokes aside, coffee is a huge stimulant. So if you're doing any type of detox or you're doing any type of binder therapy or things like we normally talk about in these sauna sessions, most people who are health challenged that do that, the coffee is really acidic and it's also a gut irritant. So it can really give really give people trouble, especially me, like when we're trying to do a protocol. So I would advise if you're even have like the smallest amount of doubt that it's giving you trouble, just stop it for a couple of months and you'd be amazed what happens to your digestion. Usually it cleans itself up, and also the binders usually work better. And if you take supplements with coffee, I believe that it reduces the absorption rate because there's a lot of it does so many things to different people. I'm speaking from my personal experience. It doesn't affect everyone that way. Sometimes people get, loose stool and have all kinds of other issues from coffee. But if that didn't answer your question, just put some more details in the chat and we'll go from there. Daniel says 120 volt. Yeah, man, if you're gonna do that, it'll work fine. But just be mindful. That's not going to be a system that you want to preheat and leave the house. So do I need to switch to protect the hardwire 15 amp breaker? Yeah, it would be a good idea. That's why I asked you about the electronics. Like, what are you going to control the system with? What, part of the reason for me asking that is if you hardwire a system like that, you're not going to want to leave it on because there's no timer. So if you were to preheat the sauna, leave the house, it could basically, heat up until it either fried the breaker, burn the place down, or whatever. That's why sauna companies don't sell saunas without electronics, a thermostat, something to kick the heaters off, and then usually there's always a countdown timer as a fail-safe. So I would say, yeah, you definitely need some type of a switch or something, and then make sure, at the very least, make sure you use the right gauge wire, because if you put like 18 gauge wire and you're running 1500 watts, you're going to smoke that stuff. So be mindful. What is the benefit of infrared versus the old school steam sauna, Maria says? Well, some people say that infrared penetrates deeper, but in my opinion, the main benefit is that more people can use it more often, more frequently, because it's easier to breathe. So the mechanism of heat delivery is a lot different. You've got, instead of using an old school steam sauna, which heats the air and in turn heats your body, which makes your core temperature rise and gives you the hyperthermia experience or the heat therapy, the infrared operates at a lot lower temperature and it's heating the water molecules underneath your skin. So as long as you're in close proximity with the heat, you don't have to have superheated air breathing into your lungs in order to get the same amount of sweat. Long story short, you can get the same sweat and detox at a lower temperature in infrared as would take 170, 180, 200 degrees in old school steam. So they're easier to install. People don't have to have ventilation systems or hire an electrician to run 220 in their house. So it's just easier all the way around. Paul says, I agree, read coffee, just don't want to give it up. I'm in the same boat. This is like a weekly battle for me, Paul. People would probably never know unless you asked, but I'm pretty much like a few days on coffee and then a few days off, because if I continue, I just kind of get out of whack. And I didn't used to be like that. I don't know what's causing the issues. I don't know what's causing the trouble like that. But yeah, there's a test to see what type of caffeine responder you are. I don't drink any after 12 p.m. and it affects my sleep cycle with a half-life of 12 hours. Yeah, I agree. I think if I'm off coffee for like 2 weeks, I just automatically sleep deeper, for sure. I don't know what it is. All the science would say, and people try to convince me all the time that it should be fine as long as you don't have coffee after, say, 4 p.m. or something, but I just function better. I don't get the crash in the afternoon. And then for some reason, I have an issue with blood sugar too. So when I'm on coffee and I don't eat, I get hangry really quick. And some other issues kind of like creep in. I used to have adrenal troubles more often too. So I don't know if it has to do something with that. As far as what type of caffeine responder you are, when I first went to the functional medicine doctor, I think they categorized me as a slow metabolizer or something like that. But I'm actually a fast, which doesn't seem right for my body type. But I couldn't even see that. B risk. I was thinking just to make my own traditional sauna, but the sauna box and install the heaters with rocks, they say no EMF. Yeah, it's no EMF as long as you don't sit close to it. If it's a really tiny sauna or if it's a small cabin like one of these, there's a pretty strong magnetic field next to it. But yeah, for the most part, you're not surrounded by it. It's only on that one side. So it's not a huge deal. If that's what you're looking to do, I would say go for it. If you haven't seen the DIY sauna course that I put out maybe a few weeks ago, it's at saunacourses.com. That could probably get you by in the meantime if you're interested in something like that. We're going on 21 minutes, guys, so I want to wrap this up right at the 30-minute mark tonight. Daniel says, so what is the best protection wiring configuration from the panels to and from the system, the breaker panel? That's a hard question to answer, Daniel. An electrician probably wouldn't approve that because you would need some type of fuse or circuit breaker in the middle so that if something, ran forever, the switch failed, something caught on fire, you would want some type of a fail-safe, maybe even GFCI related, between the actual switch that controls the panels and the breaker. So something, I'm probably not the best person to advise you on how to wire that up. I'm not an electrician, and so I can't give that type of advice, especially to code. And it probably depends on where you are in the world. Like, are we talking 50 hertz, 60 hertz? Because people across the pond there, it's a little different for them. Best thing that you could do is probably either buy a kit controller or wire up a controller of your own that either has some type of a thermostat or something that you can use as a failsafe, so that if the heaters, the amount of amperage that the heaters pull, something gets to a certain temperature, it will either cycle them off and allow them to cool for a minute or shut the system down if it runs too long. So as far as that would be the best protection. As far as me advising you on how to wire up a circuit break or a circuit board and create that, I can't do that for you. That's not what I do. Paul, are you using any type of HRV or like an Oura ring or anything like that to measure that? Or is that just your seat of the pants? Is that what you think? Like based on your coffee and how it affects your sleep and everything else. Are you tracking that with something in particular that you like? I'm curious and asking both for my own needs and just kind of want to see what other people do. We talked about Oura rings maybe last night or the night before. Daniel says, okay, thanks. Awesome info. You're welcome. I don't know if that's probably not exactly what you wanted to hear, but that's, I can't really tell you, oh yeah, just wire it up and you build it however you want. And then, you burn the place down, and, that's not what I'm about, especially here on this channel publicly. But I'm sure there's a way that you can make it work. Just if there's anything that you do, don't turn it on, leave the house and let it preheat. You only use it when you're there, especially if you're going to hardwire it without some type of a controller or control panel. Any other questions, guys? I'm going to go ahead and hop off here another 4 or 5 minutes. Chet called it. I don't know where Truth Provider is. Usually he's very consistent. But maybe he's out on the town on a Saturday night having a drink for all of us. Let's see. Yesterday's live was about infrared sauna benefits. I think we had a pretty good live yesterday. Today's is not a specific theme. Just wanted to hop on, make sure I did the day 13 with you guys, and then I was getting back to everybody on the emails and the private messages, yada, yada, yada. Do you guys have any requests for tomorrow's live stream? Usually I start the show with something in particular. Tonight I didn't. I was running a little bit behind. Got started a little late. The placeholder wasn't set up in advance. And Joan says, thanks again. Thanks again, Matt. Thank you, guys. Good seeing you. Joan, did you have a question? I didn't see you post anything. Were you just saying thanks again for showing up, or? Maria says, does it matter if you do the same time every day, or is it just important to do it once a day? It doesn't matter if you do it the same time. Some people have mixed results with that. Some people say that they have, they feel better throughout the day if they do it in the morning. There was a guy on here named Josh who consistently said if he saunaed at night and it was too late in the day that he was like jacked up and couldn't go to sleep. So no, I don't think it's necessarily the time of day. It's just whatever works for you, and then the consistency. Paul says, I use the Aura Ring only to look and see if I can get more deep sleep and better HRV. Caffeine fascinates me as my background is sport. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, it's interesting, but I guess I get where you're coming from. I thought you were coming from like a detox perspective or like a health improvement perspective. From a performance standpoint, I mean, caffeine can definitely make you sharper for a little while. Let's see. Joan says, latecomer this morning. Love listening and learning. Have you cracked open your Aura Ring box? I have not. I don't know where it is. It's still in a box somewhere. So I'll have to dig that up. I don't exactly know where it is, but it's on my list of things to do. You guys have brought it up the last few days. I've had it for a while. I should be using it. I can definitely tell anecdotally and a few other things that I track, the sauna use at night and a few of the other supplements definitely improve deep sleep, but I would like to chart it over a long period of time on a graph. It makes a lot of sense to be able to do that. Do you use I'm assuming you use an Aura Ring, Joan. What do you like about it? What don't you like about it? What are the pros and cons? What has it helped you with? Like, what's your favorite thing? Some people say that they really like seeing, well, actually, I think it was yesterday, somebody said they love seeing how alcohol affects them, or alcohol completely destroys their sleep on the Aura Ring graph. So I'm curious to see that. I mean, most people can kind of feel that. If you drink too much, you're up too late, wrecks your sleep, you feel like shit the next day. I mean, it's kind of, some of it's common sense, but what we don't see is how it affects the stages of sleep. So all things being equal, if you had a baseline throughout the week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then you had a drink on Saturday, and you can kind of see the stages of your sleep, how long you get REM sleep, and like what your HRV is when you wake up, and then you drink and you can compare it to the baseline. It's pretty interesting to see the differences in the stages and how it actually affects your sleep. Most of us, I think, we wake up and we're like, oh, we feel like we got hit by a truck, but it's interesting to see what specifically that is and how you can kind of hack that. So it's kind of cool. Going on 28 minutes now, guys. I'm going to go ahead and hop off at the 30-minute mark. Too long to type here. However, I prepare a short explanation. Okay, fair enough. I get it too. So when I film like this, I can't actually type anything in the chat or whatever. I just have a monitor outside the sauna to see what you guys are saying. Paul says, I really believe in heat and cold therapy. I believe aerobic capacity improves with saunas, and I also think cold will switch on longevity genes, according to Dr. David Sinclair, age longevity expert. Sure. Yeah, man. I mean, I definitely agree. Hyperthermia and definitely cold therapy has a lot to offer, for sure. I've been thinking about building a cold plunge tank. I haven't done it yet. I can't decide if I want to spend the money and actually get a cold tank or just build one out of a deep freezer. Brisk says, where did you say I can find info about building a traditional sauna? You mentioned something about your DIY. I don't have the information out about how to build a DIY traditional sauna. We did an infrared sauna tent at saunacourses.com. That's just to get people by. It costs about $300 to build. I think it's $10 for the course. That may or may not be right for you. I was just suggesting, hey, take a look at it. It could be something that that could get you by for a while. So Paul says, right on, cold plunge, do it, man. Yeah, I agree. I just don't know if I want to do the freezer thing, but I think I figured out a way to clean the water. So that'd be kind of weird, especially if other people use it. Sounds decadent, but I do sauna then pool. Yeah. You're welcome, Brisk. We're going on 30 minutes now, guys. I'm going to go ahead and sign off here in just a second. If you guys, if you're watching on the replay, if this is your first time tuning into the 30 for 30 sauna challenge, or you have sauna questions, or you're part of the audience that is looking for more information about a specific thing, throw something up in the comments on the replay and I will add it to tomorrow night's session. Hope you guys are doing well. Have a great weekend and happy Saturday for me.